Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about Narcissus. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you love the podcast and want to support it further, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. Benefits include getting an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, or if you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. I recently recorded an hour-long video episode for the new moon in Libra that we welcomed in on September 22nd, 2025. If you missed the live, you can check out the new moon in Libra collective tarot reading replay now to get all the latest info, and I will be doing that every new moon. So the new moon happened in September, we had the full moon at the beginning of October, and then once I get to the next new moon, I will have a live for that as well, and then you'll get the video for that. I am speaking at the Queer Joy Summit 2025, hosted by Colette Dalton this week. So the summit is a week long from October 13th through the 19th, so you still have time to join and check it out. It's completely free and online, and it's all about centering queer joy as survival, resistance, and connection. I presented on Queering the Tarot alongside an incredible lineup of queer artists, healers, rebels, and dreamers. I also did a live event on Monday the 13th with another one of our presenters, Emily Holding, another tarot card reader enthusiast, and I did a collective tarot reading for everyone, and then Emily went on and did individual readings and actually did one for me as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, you want to check out my collective reading or any of the other wonderful, presentations or things included with the Queer Joy Summit, it's still free to attend and you can still sign up through the end of the week. And I'd love for you to join me, check out this great community of beautiful queer folks. All right. I was recently on Kayla Moore's Connected Pleasure podcast. You can check out my episode of Kayla's podcast where we talked all about living by the body, dreaming of land, and weaving the future. I'll have it linked in the show notes. You'll hear about it in the episode, but Kayla and I were actually introduced by a colleague. I'm in training to be a sex therapist. They're a sex therapist. We're actually both singers and we're trained as singing in choir growing up, and also witchy folks. So someone introduced us, we connected and met, and I actually got to attend one of their sacred singing circles that they hold, which was so much fun. Like I said, I grew up singing in choir. It was incredible to get to be in that space with her and her colleague and connect by singing in such an empowering, connected, and ritualistic way in her space in Gig Harbor. So if you're local, you can check out, be on the lookout for any other singing circles that they attend or hold. If you want to work with Kayla one-on-one, you can reach out on the connectedpleasurecoaching.com website that I'll link in the show notes, or you can check out her podcast, Connected Pleasure Podcast. She's had lovely other guests. She just opened her coaching container again to take on some one-on-one folks for this season. Also has a lot of other lovely episodes on their podcast as well. If you want to work more with me directly and perhaps you don't live local to me, I am offering a Tarot for Transformation live workshops coming in 2026. So we'll be deep diving the first 12 of the major arcana cards all together as we embody archetypes and learn how to transform ourselves through the tarot. We will be deep diving one card a month for all of 2026. I'm so excited to start doing this and really I'll be creating workbooks for everyone. You can attend my probably 2 to 3 hour calls for the workshop that I'm going to be be doing once a month. You can sign up for all 12. You can sign up for one. You can sign up for, as many as it works for you. There'll probably be a slightly lower fee if you sign up for more in advance, but anyone will be able to show up as a one-off as well. And if you're unable to make it live, you'll get the recordings. So I'm so excited about this. I will be utilizing Drea Bloom's Tarot for Transformation book that they have, where they talk about, how to sort of embody the cards and do this. I will be dressing up as the cards for the live calls and for promo. So yeah, if that sounds fun, get excited for that, and you can sign up to get more information in the show notes, and I'll start sending you some lovely emails and more ideas and things that are coming forth as we get into 2026. If you don't already know, I am a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing individual and relational clients, which is just 2 or more people, virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. So if you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, you can head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. If you are looking there, I have changed my homepage now. So if you're looking for therapy, you can click on the therapy tab. If you're looking for other things, coaching, tarot, podcasts, those will be on different tabs, but everything can be found at CamilleASaunders.com. And you may have heard me talk about crafting your own tarot cards. I did a workshop in the early summer about it. But if you are wondering, is this for me? I feel like I don't have any art skills. No worries. So you can learn how to create your own tarot cards with collage, which is like my favorite method. So you'll get the full workshop, including my hour-long recording with my step-by-step method. I'll show you examples of 20 or 30 tarot cards that I've created with full pictures that you get to see, journaling questions to kind of help you dream and think about how you want to create the cards, and then a PDF to walk you all through it. And you can grab that for $33. The link is in the show notes to purchase that now. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. I send out a weekly newsletter, and it always has the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. So if you want to see more about where I live, the farm, seasons I'm going through, and then have a singular place to look for all of my different offers and upcoming events, that is a great way to do it. If you're local and you want to meet me in person, you can check out my Let's Talk Tarot meetup group, where we chat with other tarot enthusiasts, bring your favorite decks, and play with tarot and oracle decks all together. If you're interested in celebrating the full moon, I'm holding full moon women's circles for the rest of 2025. You can join my colleague Izzy and I under the glow of the full moon for an evening of connection, reflection, and ritual. We'll be meeting at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma the first Sunday of the month to welcome in the full moon together. And the next one will be November 2nd. And then we also have one already set up for December 7th. And in November, we will be celebrating the beaver moon, I believe. If you get my newsletter, you will have seen the lovely flyer going around. But yeah, if you're interested in that, you can sign up for one or both. The tickets are already available on Eventbrite, and we look forward to seeing you there. And like I said, for any of these offers, you can find the links in the show notes or on my website at CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. All right, well, welcome to season 16, where I'm talking all about queer deities. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. I've talked many topics. I've gone through every single tarot card in the 78 card traditional deck. I've talked tarot basics, tarot and pop culture. I did a whole season on tarot spreads. If you're ever looking for advice or any a spread to go with, I've talked tarot and witchcraft, plant allies, animals, frequently asked questions, and last season that I just wrapped up was all about tarot and crystals. And right now we are on to season 16, like I said, talking about queer deities, and today I'm talking about Narcissus. So we'll talk mythology, we'll speak about the queerness, and then we'll talk tarot affiliation, and then we will dive in and see what message Narcissus has for us today by pulling a card. So let's talk about the mythology. This is an interesting one. So you have probably heard of the myth of Narcissus, which is, let me pull it up right here. I'll read from the Woman's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets by Barbara G. Walker. So, Narcissus is a Greek flower god who died by looking at his own reflection in the pool of the nymph Echo. As a deity of spring vegetation, he was an alternate form of Dionysus or Antheus, who was caught by the Titans with a magic mirror or reflecting pool that was inhabited by water nymphs, who seized his soul. Once his soul was caught, the god died and sprang up again as spring flowers. The Hellenic myth that Narcissus pined away for love of his own reflection was an imaginative revision of the older story of a human sacrifice at the springtime hero Anthea or hero flowering. So, yes, we have all heard this sort of like the word narcissism comes from Narcissus that stood at the edge of a deep blue pond, gazing intently at his own reflection in a golden cup, and was struck by his own beauty. And interesting. And also, so Narcissus is the like Latin name for daffodils. So there is also this sort of like, right, there's the springtime flowers connection to this. And also, right, this is where the word narcissistic comes from. It says irises and narcissi, so daffodils grow around him, although they have not bloomed yet. So he was the son of a river god by a nymph, a beautiful boy who turned the heads of members of both sexes. His mother was advised that he would live a long time as long as he didn't know himself. So his mother had never permitted him to see his own reflection. He had spurned Echo's love, causing her to waste away until only her voice was left. As punishment for rebuking Echo, Aphrodite caused him to fall in love with his own reflection one day while resting near a pool of water after a hunt. He tried to embrace and kiss the image that confronted him, but of course was unable, and he pined away for his reflection until he wasted away and turned into a flower. And like the book said, an alternate version of the myth is that he kills himself with his blood soaking the earth and creating the white narcissus with its red corollary, which is like the daffodil that you may have seen. So alive daffodils are yellow. Technically, the sort of narcissus one is white and then does often have this sort of like red or orange, they call it corollary, but kind of like inner part of the flower. If you've grown different kinds of daffodils, you will have seen ones that look a bit more like that description. So this is like an interesting myth. So when we get into sort of more of the queerness of Narcissus, right, we have a nymph again, as I've talked about in some of my other episodes. Nymphs are common in some of these, or in a lot of these queer deity stories, of sort of this like wood nymph. So they're in the woods. They, again, are sort of, I don't know. Yeah, they're almost depicted a lot of times as like fairies are, where they're sort of like trickstery, affiliated with nature, and sometimes have this sort of like sexual or enticing component of it. If we think about the sort of queerness associated with Narcissus, I was looking online. So, right, like sort of the original myth, as you've probably been told, is like Narcissus, it's a cautionary tale about having too much vanity, or that kind of aspect, right? Again, this is where we get the word narcissism from, and that kind of falls in line with that. But if we look at it from the lens of queerness in art history, it has been retold as like a tale of dying for the beauty of a forbidden love, right? Perhaps an impossible desire that like Narcissus cannot fulfill, right? Again, when it's like the literal reflection, it's like, well, the reflection is not real. So, right, it's an impossible desire. Yeah, and this myth has been an inspiration for the work of many famous gay poets. They talk about Garcia Lorca, Pier Paolo Pasolini, and Oscar Wilde. I'm reading from fairytales.substack.com about queer lore about Narcissus. Yeah, and there's a poem here. It's a translation, but from Fernando Garcia Lorca that they reference. It says, "Poor Narcissus, your dim fragrance and the dim heart of the river. I want to stay at your edge, flower of love, poor Narcissus. Ripples and sleeping fish cross your white eyes, songbirds and butterflies. I so tall beside you, flower of love, poor Narcissus. How wide awake the frogs are. They won't stay out of the surface, in which your madness and my madness mirrors itself. Poor Narcissus, my sorrow, self of my sorrow." And this is from the poem Narcissus by Fernando Garcia Lorca, roughly translated to English. So the myth, right, is not just about sort of this like level of, again, like maybe the surface level around like narcissism, or because we also have to remember that the beginning of the tale is that like almost it was this like prophecy that his mother did not allow him to look at his own reflection because of what she was afraid of. And yeah, as we get into this, so then eventually he does, and kind of gets like sucked into it. But if we think about it again from this place of queerness, or like this celebration of male beauty, perhaps Narcissus was young, a beauty and desire worthy of dying for. We start to see that just like in some like queer stories, or when we look at historical representations, right, like lusting after oneself, or like a man looking at his own beautiful self, is sometimes like a, I don't know, safer or coded way to talk about a man being in love with another man. And yeah, we actually get this, like this Narcissus tale. It's in the book of Metamorphoses in book 3. There's like, again, a story, a teenage boy rejects sexual advances of other teenagers and then like starves to death staring into a pond. And it is sort of like, again, it's read as this like cautionary tale and don't get too sucked into your own reflection. But we also can look at it from this way of like this aggressive way that society punishes any manifestation of teenage male sexuality that contradicts the norm, right? The idea that a man is going to be perpetually on the lookout for sex or another person, or right, a woman in particular. And that when we think about what is like sort of like talked about in the story, which is like arrogance, it's not necessarily in the way that like we maybe might imagine nowadays as like excessive self-love, or again, kind of like narcissism. But like we know that, again, Narcissus was like not allowed to look at himself. And if you think about yourself as a teenager, like there is this very like, I need to know what I look like because other people are like highly judging how I look. And a lot of times, like, I don't want to look at myself because like I'm changing, or I look in this way that like it's not like everyone else, or there's this kind of like, yeah, like danger about it. And that like in Narcissus' punishment, that like he rejects the nymph Echo, and then Echo kind of like ambushes him. And Echo like is a woman, like perhaps Narcissus like was not interested in women, and that's part of this rejection part. And I was again kind of looking up this mythology and like queerness of it, and saw different stories shared about, again, this like sort of the way it gets told in stories about men loving other men. That's sort of this like allegory of it, of like, perhaps again, Narcissus was not interested in Echo because she was a woman. He was interested in men, and the sort of like self-reflection part of it like looks like another man, and like kind of has this like appealing aspect of it. And yeah, again, I saw folks talking about sort of the like duality of like the self-hatred of like being a man and being in love with other men or lusting after them because it's not really allowed by society. I would say it's like, it depends on where you live, and it depends on the exact time and place in which you are doing this, but still very taboo, I would say, especially in a lot of other cultures. Or even just parts of the United States. And so we have this sort of like Narcissus rejects this idea, like I would die before I would have you touch me. May I die before you enjoy my body. This is sort of like the more like phrasing that comes across. Like, but again, perhaps it was more of this like, please don't make me do this thing that I'm not into. Like I'm not into that person. And also just the idea of sort of, yeah, that Narcissus is a man kind of looking at his own reflection. And again, sort of like loving it, which we don't. It's like, oh yeah, women can care about being beautiful and this or that, but that's less okay for men. It's in particular less okay for men if they're thinking about how other men perceive them in, again, like a romantic or sexual way. And it's unfortunate that this myth has become like this like modern idea that like looking at yourself in the mirror is vain, and like don't do it. Because I would say, right, like it seems pretty clear that that's not the moral of the story, even though that's sort of what it's been simplified to. And yeah, we sort of see like perhaps Narcissus was like asexual also, like perhaps that's how we would view it today. Didn't want to be forced to have sex with anyone, but basically Narcissus, right, was put to death for perhaps being queer, like not being into Echo, a woman nymph, and not like, and by saying like I will, right, like I will not do that, I will not have sex with them, I will not have sex with anyone I don't want to. And like, again, this idea of even a lot of people's understanding of asexuality is still very, like misunderstood, I would say, that a lot of people can't hold the ideas that someone can be asexual and also like be romantic or want romance, or that they can be asexual and sometimes will have sex, that they can be asexual and have no interest in sex ever with anyone. Like everyone is different, even if all of them are asexual. And so, right, like we can't, like it is sort of this like, perhaps the attribution of the asexuality is like vain, right, is like culturally dependent and is like queerphobic, as asexuality is part of queerness, and or aromantic or anything like that. And perhaps like, you know, he refused to date anyone, right, as queer is culturally dependent as well, but like the modern interpretation makes room for queer people to live, while, right, the sort of historical interpretation, the Greek interpretation, says that if you don't date people, you deserve to die, right? Like that's basically like a different interpretation of the story, or one way that we could think about it. Like if Narcissus had been a woman and Echo a man, right, then perhaps we would have like seen the story as misogynistic, or in that way, or that like, right, modern readers can look at it and empathize with the Hellenic view that that Narcissus is owed other people love, because like that is what heteropatriarchy like speaks about, and heteropatriarchy erases a lot of asexual men, and maintains that all men are naturally creatures of sexual desire, and that like that is a part of manhood or being a man. And like this all contributes to, right, like misogynistic rape culture, and also degrades men by reducing them to like the social role of like a sexual monster, or like something that is only driven by sex, and that is like the top priority. And so we also have to make space, right, for men to exist without the pressure to romantically or sexually perform. And we can see Narcissus as like rightfully entitled to his own feelings, right? Echo is sort of guilty of romantic assault, right? Like Narcissus rejects Echo. Echo basically like comes and like assaults him, and then even like uses the power structures with Aphrodite to punish Narcissus. And she like has this fantasy she developed in her head, and she like stalks him without his knowledge and fails to respect his right to consent. And then like again, like prays to Nemesis, literally, for the act of divine intervention that leads to Narcissus's death. And he was 16, like that is part of the mythology, like he was a child. And he was also like perhaps like constantly sexually harassed, sometimes even violently so. And again, like he was a teenager, like a child. And there are these different Hellenic idealizations of the beauty of male youth, or, right, Narcissus may have been one of those boys, but no matter, like no 16-year-old, regardless of how they look, deserves to be subjected to like sexual harassment and violence. No adult does either, but it's particularly, I would say, terrible in the case of a boy like Narcissus, right? Again, a literal child. And yeah, I think that today a lot of people use the term narcissist in a way that is not based on a clinical diagnosis, but is based on, right, this idea of this Greek myth that like, and it is interesting as like, so narcissist is like an English word, actually. It's not a Greek word. So it must have come through English etymological process before arriving at the spelling of narcissist or narcissist that we like see today. And so we don't even really know, right, that like how that language changed, or how this idea like evolved. And right, like we can think about the fact that the word narcissist in Greek mythology like references the myth, and if that is the case, then the word's original use was to insult someone as vain for not dating anyone. And again, like this sort of, if we like flesh out this idea, it says like if you're a romantic or asexual, or you simply do not want to date people that are like non-consensually interested in you, that like the myth says, right, you deserve to die. And so it's like this like terrible thing that we've sort of like created today, that narcissist is vanity, and like that idea that like putting your own interests or even like consent above other people's needs or desires is narcissistic. And this is like particularly hard for me because also as a therapist, like as someone like, yeah, the term narcissist can be helpful in some ways, or like, I guess in the past I have found it helpful, but it's really going to make me think about it differently now because it's kind of like narcissist in this way is like a reference to Narcissus' refusal to be in a relationship. Like then it's like a slur, right? Like perhaps Narcissus wasn't any abuser of any kind. He was queer. And was punished for that in the mythology, and almost continues to be today by us using the term narcissist in this way of meaning, like, yeah, again, like, what's the right word? Like, we're going to say negatively, but like, I can't think of it right now. But like using malice, and using, or putting your own needs and desires above others in a way, or not having empathy for other people, I would say is how often we see the word narcissist today. So that was very long and tangential, but let's get into, tarot cards. So, I looked through my Herb Crafters tarot because I feel like I have a deck where they have a daffodil, but I couldn't find the one I was thinking of. So I couldn't find that. But cards that I think I could imagine being associated with Narcissus or this like mythology would be like the Hanged Man, kind of like because there's this like mirroring, like literally right in the image, and that like it's a perspective change, right? As we've sort of seen in this episode, perhaps your perspective is going to change on this idea of narcissism or Narcissus, and their queerness. So I think that would definitely be one. What other ones did I say? Oh, I saw reference to the Page of Cups, both upright and reversed. I think sometimes in the Page of Cups, again, like because of the chalice, like the golden cup that's like in the myth sometimes, that it gets attributed with this like Page of Cups. I read a whole Reddit thread about like people talking about cards and narcissists, which I started reading and I was like, I don't totally know that I want to like go into this because again, like I think the mythology of Narcissus like needs to be separated from our modern definition of narcissism, because I don't really think that it's like a true attribution, or like that it's been interpreted in a very particular way, and I don't know if it's one I agree with anymore. So other ones I saw were, or like thought about, were the Magician, just because of like their own like self-power. I think kind of because of this like interesting ideas about masculinity or like queerness. I could see like the Emperor reversed, sort of like turning this idea of like masculinity or authority over into something that doesn't look like that, and kind of what does it look like when it's turned on its head. I think you could have, probably other Cups cards as well, in thinking about this. Let me see if there were any other ones. I saw some people also talk about like the Knight and King of Wands, that sometimes there can be this like emotional immaturity. Sorry, I touched the mic there briefly. But again, I kind of don't really want to like lean into like the modern narcissism definition for this. So for the Page of Cups, we can think about like getting angry if things don't go their way, like needing to take care of things yourself. Again, I think that's kind of where I see like the Page of Cups reversed. in that sense. Let me see if there's any other ones. Yeah, the Seven of Swords was like another one I kept seeing, but again, it kind of more is attributed to narcissism because it's like trickery, manipulation, deceit, instead of necessarily like the myth of Narcissus. I could see like the Eight of Swords being like feeling like trapped, and like feeling, yeah, again, kind of like this. There's like a false image, there's like the genuine feeling, there's like something about like empathy, but also just like that feeling and believing you are trapped, right? Like Narcissus, I would say, definitely felt that because they sort of had to like violently or vehemently like protest of the thing against the things that were trying to be done to them or for them. All right, we'll stop there because that's plenty. So let's dive in and see what message Narcissus has for us today. I'm going to pull from the Herb Crafter's Tarot since we're talking about a plant also. And now I'm also like, so did the name for the plant come first? And like I need to do a bunch of etymological research now about like what came first. Again, like was it the plant, then the myth, then the English word of narcissism? Yeah. And yeah, my sources earlier were, I pulled from pride.com talking about queer gods. Yeah, what's talking about Narcissus. So actually like there is like a myth too that mentions a relationship between Narcissus and Eminanus, another man. And that person actually feels so rejected that they kill themselves. There's a lot of death and dying in all of this mythology. Yeah, okay. And then what else were my other sources? The researchgate.com, an article about reflecting Narcissus, a queer aesthetic. Pursuit, what's that one? A medium.com article about Narcissus wasn't an abuser, he was queer. Oh, pursuit.unimylb.edu, it's Australian. Yeah, University of Melbourne Arts and Culture article on Narcissus and the drawbacks of being a hot teenage boy. Great titles, all of these. Okay, so yeah, let's see what message Narcissus has for us. I'm so curious to see like what plant comes up in here. Okay. Okay, I got 4 of air, lavender. And 4 of air would be equivalent to like 4 of swords. Okay, so 4 of air, oh, I flipped right to it. Withdraw beyond borders, calm the body and mind, pause to cherish the present moment. A tall lavender plant grows at the edge of a garden. It is a height of summer and intoxicating fragrance fills the air. A basket rests nearby, partially filled with gathered flowers. Shoes and gloves have been removed, tools sit unused on the earth, a small snail inches by and the bees buzz. Contemplation precedes action. Build a foundation for deeper understanding. Create space for rest and pull away from the outside world. Lavender is a popular border plant. The strong scent keeps unwanted animals from entering the garden, and the woody stems keep other plants from encroaching. Put up strong boundaries and retreat behind them. Commitment to self-care eases conflict in other areas of your life. Lavender clears the air and relieves tension. Let your emotions settle and your mind relax. Take a break from gathering thoughts and ideas. You have already learned so much. Allow what you have have studied to sink into your bones. So if you want to craft with this card, you can make a lavender wand, use it to create boundaries from unwanted energies. You can keep lavender oil with you for instant calm. You can make a palm tent and slowly breathe in and out. Or you can carry a lavender sachet in your pocket as the grandmothers did and inhale the scent all day long. So, right, boundaries, self-care, like clearing the air, relieving tension, taking a break, right? Like learning, allowing, like integration. That's what I think of for this card a lot. All right, well, if you'd like to join me on using the journey or using the tarot for transformation, click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest to get more information and details. I'll be doing this for at least 12 months of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform ourselves through the tarot. And if I have fun with it and other people have fun with it, maybe I'll be doing this for the next 2 years if I go through all the major arcana cards. So links for the tarot decks will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.